Hi, everyone. Mike White here. Welcome to this week's vlog post. It's October, and as those of you who know me know, October is the linchpin of my coaching program. It is probably the most important month of the year. It's when we set our sights on the year to come. This year, we're looking forward to 2023 and trying to look at what's gone on in 2022 and build a platform for us to move into the new year at a full pace. Looking at what's worked for us this year, looking what didn't, making some adjustments. And I have found that doing this in October, and I've done it for many years, that gives us a chance to put things together, to try some things, to rearrange our schedules, to actually implement, learn, update, change out, whatever it is that we need to do so that when January 2nd comes along, we hit the ground running, as opposed to people who are just starting to think about, okay, it's a new year, what do I do? And I find it to be very important that we do this, because not only does it help us in 2023 or the year that we're planning for, but it also helps us focus on what it is that we're doing right now and really help us drive to the finish line of this year and to finish strong, where a lot of people will throw their hands up and say, okay, the year's over, there's not much I can do to improve it. Those last 5, 6, 7, 10 deals that we get into the pipeline and close before the year is over, it can make a substantial difference in your income. And I tell people, make it your holiday fund, make it a get out of debt fund, make it a long-term savings fund, make it a, whatever it is I want to do, target, even if it's doing something nice for charitable work, or, donating something, or bonusing the people around you, whatever the case may be. So I've decided this year, because the schedule is limited, I can't be as many places as people would like me to be. Part of what I've done here is I've broken up business planning into segments. We go into it a little bit each week over this month. So this is part one of a 4-part series about business planning for 2023. And hopefully this will be helpful to those of you who haven't been through the process before. I'm sure it'll be helpful. At least it'll give you something to look at and maybe motivate you into working toward 2023 as opposed to working out of 2022. So the first step is the assessment stage of the process. And in order to complete any journey, you've got to know 2 things. You got to know where you are and where it is that you're trying to go. And so with that in mind, there are a series of questions that you have to ask yourself. And this holds true for everyone. And again, this is really simple to do. And that's why the blog post is also in writing. So you don't have to write this down. You can just print it out and go from there. But the point is, getting the answers to these questions will help you format yourself and help things come together in the rest of this process. So let's just get to the first question, which is, how much business have I done this year? It's an important thing to know, because right now in October, you've got a pretty good grip on what's already closed in 2022. You know what's in your pipeline to close already, and you also know the number of pre-approvals that you've got in your queue, most of whom should find houses and close this calendar year. Granted, some won't, and granted, there'll be new people that'll come in from now to the end of the year that will result in loans, but you've got a pretty good idea of what's been going on and where about you're going to end up. So it's important we do that. The next question that we have to ask from the opportunities that we've generated, where did those opportunities come from? What was it that I was doing? Who were the people that I was working with? What were the steps that I would take in? What do we do to drive those opportunities? And the next question would be, what is the makeup of that business? Was it purchase business? Was it refinance business? Of that business, what did it look like? Were the opportunities solid opportunities? Was it 80, 90% of the people that you came across, people that you could help? Was it 50 or 60% of the people that had credit issues or, other challenges? Was it mostly purchase business? Was it refinance business? All of those things are important questions to ask yourself. And the only way that you're going to know that is to analyze the data. And I'm saying opportunities are not just closed loans. Yes, we want to know where the loans that we closed came from, but we want to know where every one of those contacts came from. And if you're not tracking every one of your contacts as to where it came from, that's an important piece to put in your business plan for next year to make sure that you do that. The next question we go through is, did I monitor, my monthly production, and did that production improve, remain the same, or diminish throughout the year? Comparing the months, each month, and seeing, because there could be patterns. You may look back and say, gee, March wasn't a particularly good month for me, but then realize that the year before March wasn't a particularly good month for you. You may have thought that, this month was really good, but when you compare it to the year before, it wasn't all that much different. The reality of comparing and tracking data, especially over the years, the people that do this will tell you it's invaluable to look to understand trends. And the other part, the next question is, when I talk about trends, is, are we trending for the better or for the worse? Did we start out strong, and are we getting weaker as the year goes into it? I know a lot of people, obviously, refinances have diminished, but they're still out there and available. Certainly not at the clip that it was last year. I know we're about 85% less number of refis this year over year, than we were last year. But still, 15% of the business that's out there is still refinance. So it's amazing that despite all the interest rate pressure, there's still, again, 15% of a market is a pretty big market. It's a pretty big number. So it's important. So when we look at those trends, we have to look at ourselves and say, and again, it can't just be closings. It has to be contacts. It has to be the growth of your pipeline, or it has to be the growth of your pre-approvals, because not all pre-approvals close at the same number of days. And so, you may have seen a net plus in pre-approvals. And again, if you were tracking that month to month and year over year, you'd see a build or a decline at certain times of the year. It may be normal, or you'd notice a build or a decline that may not necessarily be normal, but it may just be a fluke. Sometimes, you get one of those waves where everybody that you're qualifying on a Friday ends up going into contract by Monday. And a lot of other times people are looking 2-3 months to find a house, maybe longer. So keep that in mind. And that's why we track the numbers, because you really can't assume what's going on in your business. You really have to know. And again, the next piece after the trending is, did my actual opportunities meet my expectations? Had you business planned, or if you business planned last year, we set certain expectations of opportunities, where those opportunities would come from, the people that were going to be involved, or the events, or the strategies that we were going to use. How is it working compared to what we thought? Are we ahead of our projections? Are we behind? Are we where we thought we were going to be with that? It's really important. And again, knowing what worked the way you thought it would, or better than you thought it would, or especially those that didn't perform as you had anticipated. Again, it will lead you down the path of, is there something that we need to do? Is there something we need to fix? Is there something we need to eliminate? Is there something we need to add? All very important pieces of your particular puzzle. And when we talk about pieces of the puzzle, what are the tools that you're using? What vehicles are you using? What things are you doing to generate opportunities, or to secure relationships, or to maintain relationships? The things that you have, the things that you bought. How many of us went out there and, we bought a treadmill, and now it sits in the corner of your bedroom and it is a coat rack, right? Well, the treadmill isn't a bad treadmill because you don't use it. The treadmill isn't being used because you don't use it. If you use the treadmill the way you were supposed to use the treadmill, you probably would be happy with the results. The problem is, we all have tools in the mortgage business that we pay for, have available to us, that we don't use, and we have to make decisions. If I'm paying for something and I'm not using it, then get rid of it. If I'm paying for something and I'm using it and it's not working as well as it should be, find out from somebody who's using it and it's working well, how they're using it, and maybe you can pick up a few tips. If it's working really well, then it goes to justify the fact that it was a good investment. The next thing is how did my team perform? The people that I'm surrounded with. Some of us are by ourselves and we don't have assistants or processors or our own dedicated people. Others of us either share or have people that we work with. And let's be honest, we don't process our own loans. So we do have a processor, whether they work directly for us or for our company. How did those people perform? And are there any things that you could be doing to help them perform better for you? Are there things, are you having conversations with them to find out, doing an analysis of the relationship that you have with your own team members to make sure that you're working as effectively and efficiently as possible? The next part is what items do I have to make adjustments with? And what things do I not do right now or not have in my business right now that I'd like to incorporate? Those things are important. Those are sort of your wish list, things that you want to implement for this year. Well, now is the time to get after it and make sure that that's done. And obviously, do I need help in doing this assessment? Do I want another set of eyes to look at it? Do I have an accountability partner in my office, a manager or a coach, a coworker that we can do this together? The last thing I want to remind you of is, again, it's October. Do I have all my CE requirements done and complete so that I can go into 2023 without having to worry about last minute having to stop everything I'm doing and do my CE trainings? I never ceases to amaze me that people run into this every year and fail to make their CE and get notified by their company that they can't submit any loans or they can't work this year because they haven't done their continuing ed. Now, I know this is a lot to deal with, but if you take it one step at a time, it'll go smoothly. We're going to do this again every week. Obviously, if you need help, if you have questions or comments, if you want to really get in and prepare, whether it's you, your team, your company, your branch, give me a shout. It's best to email me, mike@imtcoaching.com, and I'll be able to at least try to walk you through it, maybe set up a Zoom call, possibly work in a site visit to do a one-day training on this to help you out. But again, you've got to make the attempt because nothing gets done if we don't try. So hopefully you'll have yourselves a great week. You found this information useful. We'll talk to you again next week. Take care.